What up, YouTube? Here with a post-fight video of the Jared Anderson versus Andriy Rudenko fight. Now, before I give y'all the summary of what happened in the fight, I'm going to tell y'all the results first. Jared Anderson was able to score yet another TKO win, and he scored a TKO win in the 5th round. And to sum up what happened in the fight, this was a one-sided fight. This was a Jared Anderson showcase, as it was promoted to be. Jared Anderson, he didn't take that much of a break from his last fight versus Charles Martin, hence why he fought a lesser quality, lesser caliber opponent in Andriy Rudenko, because I would say Rudenko is a level below a fighter of a Charles Martin caliber, and understandably so, because of how quick Jared Anderson was scheduled to fight right after his fight versus Charles Martin. And this is a good thing for a fighter who is a prospect in the likes of Jared Anderson. And Jared Anderson, who's on the come up and who's trying to climb through the ranks of not only in heavyweight boxing, but I say boxing in general. That's why it's a good look for Jared Anderson to be as active as he is. And I gotta give Top Rank their credit for doing a good job at promoting Jared Anderson and having him as busy as he is, which is very important for a fighter that's on the come up like Jared Anderson. This is definitely putting a prospect like Jared Anderson on the spotlight, for him to be fighting as often as he does, and him being featured on a big network like ESPN. And this, I would say, is a good thing that Top Rank and ESPN, ever since they joined forces and alliances together, that it's been, I would say, arguably the best and the most progressive boxing being featured on a major cable broadcast network like ESPN. PBC, they did a good job at premiering boxing on regular cable network television when it first was established. Now they're back on Showtime and pay-per-view. They're not on regular networks anymore. Hence why ESPN and Top Rank, them working together, is the only boxing being featured on regular cable network. And to have Jared Anderson being featured on their shows regularly as they do is a good look. Anyways, let's sum up what happened in the fight. Even though there isn't much to sum up of what took place in the fight, it was all Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson showcased his technical improvements. He showed technical improvements in his last fight versus Charles Martin. He showed that he could recompose himself after finding himself in trouble, and him being able to readjust and throwing the right punches to get his rhythm back and to get his offense going, and to find himself a break for him to get back in tune with the fight whenever he's either gassed out or he finds himself not 100%. However, in this fight, he didn't have any of those instances where he was in trouble or where he was gassed out. However, he picked up where he left off at, and that is him showing his ability to place his punches very well together and throw combos and put his punches very well thought out together. He's showing his ability to be methodical with placing his punches. And another element that Jared Anderson has showed impressive adjustments or improvements on is his ability to level change from going upstairs and downstairs with the combination of his punches that he puts out. And that was accumulating on Rudenko in this fight, and that was staggering Rudenko. Rudenko did not get dropped in this fight. It was punches and bunches that was staggering Rudenko, and that was taking its toll on Rudenko. It was the accumulation of shots that Anderson was putting up against Rudenko, and with a big guy like Anderson throwing as many shots as he does, regardless of it being accurate or not, is going to do its damage on any fighter, especially when it comes to heavyweight boxing. And this is yet another impressive performance added to Jared Anderson's ongoing, continuing, building resume. And with that being said, I think that he should take yet another 5 to 6 months break for him to rejuvenate and for him to have some time off and for him to look to a higher quality opponent. I would say it's only right for Jared Anderson to look for a higher quality opponent. He is ranked amongst the top 10 heavyweights with the WBA and WBC. He's ranked number 9 on the WBA, and I think he's number 9 or 8 ranked by either the WBC or the WBO. And that's not putting Jared Anderson in title contention as of yet. And me personally speaking, from what I've seen from Jared Anderson thus far, I don't think he's ready for a title shot yet either. I don't think he's a top ranked contender for him to challenge either Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk. I think the level of opponent that would be appropriate for him for his next fight would be a fighter that's on the level of a Luis Ortiz, who's got a victory over Charles Martin. Otto Wallin would be a tough test for Jared Anderson, as well with a Joseph Parker. That would be a tough test for Jared Anderson as well. A fighter of those calibers would be a definite tough test for Jared Anderson. If not, he could fight a journeyman who is experienced, who is a veteran, a guy by the name of Robert Helenius. That would be a good tough test for Jared Anderson as well, at the stage that Jared Anderson is at right now, as well as a Chris Arreola. That would be a good tough test for Jared Anderson at the stage that he's at as well. And a Dillian White, if he gets past names like Chris Arreola and Robert Helenius, or a Luis Ortiz even. Those are some names that I could throw out there that would be some worthwhile opponents for Jared Anderson in his next fight. I wouldn't suggest Jared Anderson go hit the training camp right away like he did preparing for this fight, because of how quick he fought following his fight after the Charles Martin fight. And if he does go right back in the training camp and has yet another quick fight, I'd say like 2 to 3, 4 months after this fight, he's going to fight yet another less caliber quality opponent just to keep himself busy and keep his name relevant, flowing through the boxing scene. Then that's going to lead for him to finding the quickest available opponent for him to fight to fill that time slot. That's why I think at the stage of Jared Anderson where he's at right now, it would be very important and a much better look for Jared Anderson, promotionally speaking, for him to find a better opponent in his next fight to prove himself ready to be taken serious as a top 10 or a top 15 ranked heavyweight contender that's currently active in heavyweight boxing right now. And that does it for this post-fight video. Y'all let me know what y'all opinions are from this fight that y'all saw with Jared Anderson. How do y'all see him and his performances as he continues to climb through the ranks of the top of the heavyweights? And I would also like to talk about Nicholas Ali, the grandson of Muhammad Ali, suffering his first defeat as a pro. He is still early in his professional boxing career, and for him to suffer a defeat this early on in his career is a learning experience. It wasn't such of a blowout that I saw from Ali. Is still room for improvements. It's still room for him to make adjustments and for him to learn from this loss. And it doesn't derail his career as much as it would have if he would have already cemented himself as a legit contender in boxing. And it's better to take a loss early and then make readjustments and make improvements and work on his technicality and go fix his flaws when he hits a training camp, when he goes to the gym again. And when he hits a gym again, he could look to make mistakes when it comes to the chinks in his armor. And it's better to do that earlier on in his career, and then that will make him more of a better fighter later on in his career than to soak in the successes as a already well-established successful fighter than to take a loss as a prospect and to gain experience from it. And I get why this is hyped upon amongst the boxing critics, is because he's got a name to live up to, having that Ali last name. However, to be fair, we gotta have him looked at as any other professional fighter rather than to have him looked at as a Ali, or to have him to live up to his grandfather's legacy, because that would be quite unfair with Muhammad Ali being one of the most well-established fighters and arguably the most well-recognized fighter in all of combat sports history. Anyways, I thought I'd just talk about that because it was featured on the same card as this Jared Anderson fight that we saw last Saturday. And now with that being said, comment, subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. And that does it for this video. Feel free to click the links in the description box below. I would very much appreciate it if y'all show y'all support. And peace.